Hi, this is Tanya Sheridan from inallsassiness.com, and today I'm going to show you how to create this beautiful sequin shaker element that was designed by Laura Beacom, and we're going to use it on a card as well as highlight how it can be used on a layout. Both of these are done in periwinkle, and then I want to introduce to you the one that I'm going to be teaching is with our brand new color of the year for 2023-2024, which is called Journey. So I wanted to show you a couple of things real quick first. This is the same element of design that is here on the card. And then here you can see that I put the element directly on the layout itself. So I actually on this particular layout have used it 3 times, just changing it up a little bit. So this was the first one. Up here you have the same thing. Now this is liftable, so it's a little bit different so that you can put your photographs on and then you can seal it shut. And then I also used it one more time for this particular layout in a flip flap, which looks like this. Let me pull it out so that you can see better. And this element is down on the page there. So 3 different elements on this layout. This was a flip flap layout, so the elements actually come together, or the shakers actually come together very nicely. So how do we start this? Well, it's actually very easy. I'm going to take you through several steps. It is a little bit time consuming, so it's one of those things that I love to do when I am watching TV, etc. I love little intricate things. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to pull out a piece of adhesive paper as well as one of our shaker rims. Now I've pre-cut the adhesive paper. I cut it to 3.5 by 3.5 because my shaker is 3 by 3. You could get it a little bit narrower if you wanted to, but this felt like it had just a lot more space and maneuverability. I'm going to carefully peel back one side of this adhesive paper. Now it is adhesive on both sides and there's paper backing on both sides. So we're going to take it off of both of those. I will warn you, it is it's stuck to my finger. It is very sticky paper. This wax paper, it's great to save. I use it for other things as well. Then I'm going to take my shaker rim and I am going to simply go around the edge of the shaker. I usually use my smaller scissors, but I wanted to use these for the rest of the project. So that just releases that seal a little bit and it makes it easier to pull off the rim. So we're going to pull off this rim. If some of your foam tape starts pulling with you, just press it down with your finger and you will be good to go. And then you have all of this extra, these squares from the inside that you can use for another project. Now, what I found with these guys is it's better just to let it kind of fall the way it wants to. If you manipulate it too much, then the circle isn't going to stay the way it needs to be. Now, for right now, we're going to leave this rim on the top so that it's less sticky. We're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut right to the side. And I have found that when I'm cutting, that adhesive paper pretty much is just coming off and it's easier for me to just go ahead and cut it. That might not be the case with all of you. You might find that it's easier just to keep cutting, but for me, this one seems to work the best. And I just am putting the scrap off to the side. Now you could leave this on for later if you wanted and cut it off later, but I tend to hit it with my wrist and then I'm constantly knocking it off. So I don't want to do that per se. Get almost to the end here. And you could use these with any sequins. It doesn't have to be on the colors that I chose. I really like the periwinkle. It is one of my favorite colors, new favorite colors. It's been around for at least a year, but I wanted to show it with our new color of the year. So what I've done is I have taken, these are our sequins, and you'll see that there are some metallic ones, there's some solid matte finish, and there's also some kind of creamy white ones. These are the Journey. I've gone ahead and selected the size and the piece that I want because there are a couple of different ways that you can do this, and I'm going to show you a few of those examples. Then what I'm going to do, whoops, is not do that. I'm gonna catch my sequin and I want to pretty much do a straight line. Now I am choosing for this one to use all of the large, and I've done two different size or two different colors. One is more of a darker and one is more of a lighter. And I'm just gonna press those down right on that tape or on that adhesive paper. Now you can alternate, you can make a pattern. I'm just kind of randomly whatever comes up using. But I did pull those two colors inward, okay? We're gonna go all the way up to the top. Then once we get to the top, we're gonna start a second line. And when I do my second line, I'm gonna come in between kind of the curvatures of the circle so that they nest together, just like this, okay? So I'm gonna continue down and I'm gonna continue until I finish the entire piece. Now, if there's some sections that you don't get close enough with this large one, you could fill in the holes with some of the smaller ones. That I've done that and I've left them open. So either way works really, really well. I'm gonna get to the end of this second and then I'll show you where we're at. Okay, so see there's a tiny little gap here. If you wanted to fill that in, you could, or you could leave it open. And so I would continue on both sides until the entire shaker is done. Now here I have one that I have finished. And so I've done it all the way across. I did on this one do it a little bit differently in that I alternated and did one row of large and then one row of medium on either side and then back to large. That also maximized some of my sequins and just gave it a little bit of a different feel. How you want to do that is totally up to you. Okay, so now that we have this piece finished, what we're gonna do is we're gonna carefully pull the rim off of the foam tape. And it just comes right off. Then we're gonna take a rim that I have cut, pre-cut, with this shaker die, which is, I think, one of the most awesome sets because I use it over and over again. And that's gonna go on top. And I'm just gonna reiterate and push down those pieces. Now, all of our shakers do come with a round acetate piece. So if you wanted to use the acetate to make sure these guys didn't fall out, you could, but it's a super adhesive paper, and so I haven't had that as a problem. Okay, so now that we're done with this, we're gonna go ahead and put together the rest of the card. So this was just a simple card that I really liked. I chose not to use a sentiment so that you could use, or the person could use whatever sentiment that they wanted. So I'm gonna use my Journey paper. I've pre-splattered with the Journey shimmer brush, the background paper. And so the background paper is just 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I'm gonna center that right onto my Journey cardstock, just like that. Then I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add a piece of my shimmer trim. And this is also the Journey, so this is a very monochromatic card. You can put it as high as you want. And when I do these, I really like to use my Versamat to help me line up my piece better of my shimmer trim. And so I actually typically just glue it right down to my Versamat. Make sure that I have it where I want. And then I'm gonna pull the card front up and trim it to fit. Okay, so now you can do a couple of different things. First of all, you can take your shaker and you could adhere it directly to that acetate disc I was talking about to give it more stability. You could also put a piece of white cardstock or whatever color dark you want behind it and do it that way and trim it. I'm actually going to put mine directly on my card, and you can determine how high that you want yours. So if you notice on these two cards, I have this one on the left out of the journey a little bit lower, and this one on the right a little bit higher. So it just kind of depends on which way you like it or prefer it. So I'm going to flip over my shaker, and I'm going to very carefully, and it is a little bit tricky, I want to get the film off the back. And I actually find it a little bit easier if the piece is laying down, but that's kind of hard to do under camera. So we're going to catch it. Might take a few little effort here. There we go. Okay, so once you have the piece, you are going to very carefully pull it off the back, and you'll see that it's just that thin layer of adhesive that's holding this whole thing together, okay? So before you position it down, do you want your lines straight? Do you want them at an angle so it looks more like a mosaic? How do you want yours? On this one, I have my lines very straight. On this one, I think I want it a little bit different. So I'm going to position it where I want. I do like it a little bit higher. So I'm going to press it down once I have it into place and go from there. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull in my seahorse that I've pre-stamped. This is done with the Cape Cod scrapbooking stamp and thin cut set, which is still available. And I will put the link in the notes. It is an adorable set. There's a seahorse, there is a crab, there is a water plant. I think that's all. But they are so realistic, and it's such a beautiful detailed stamp. I really, really like it. Now, I did use, as I started to say, the foam from my shaker, and that is so that it is even. I almost always use thin foam tape, but if I'm putting something on and I want it to overlap my shaker, you want to make sure that you have the same level of foam tape. And since we know that that is going to be the same with the insides, we might as well use what has been given to us. So I'm only putting the foam on one side of the seahorse. I am going to put my runner and just put a small little dab on either side. And you can put him or her at an angle if you want. I think I am going to do that on this one. Then I have pre-cut this beautiful, beautiful starfish. This comes from the Cape Cod card making workshop, and it is one of the most gorgeous sets you will ever see. I've used these shells over and over again. I love them. So I pre-put a little bit of foam on the back, and I'm going to glue that directly onto my sequin so it overlaps my seahorse just a tiny, tiny bit. Okay, so then I am going to pull out my mini glue dots. And I'm going to go back and grab just a few of my sequins from this beautiful collection because I would like some of different sizes. And so I find that the easiest way to do this is then to take the sequin and put it directly to the dot. And on this one, I think I want that cascading feel. And so I'm going to do 3 at the top and then a few at the bottom because I've given myself a little bit more wiggle room there. And I'm trying to get ones that are different. Now, again, there are some whites. You're welcome to use the white. I kind of steered clear on that because I wanted it to really pop, and I felt like that the white didn't show as well. But you could certainly do that one and include the white. Now that I have the 3 there, I'm just going to do a few down here. Now, I will tell you that there are some sequins that are smaller. I find that they're these tiny, tiny, tiny ones. I find that those are really hard to attach with the glue dot. And so what I tend to use with those tiny ones is I actually use those as a traditional shaker. So when I'm building a shaker card, etc., that's when I will use those tiny ones because, again, I just don't feel like they fit as well. Okay, so I think I want one more right at the bottom, just to give me that more of a cascading feel. So you can do it however you want with the sequins. You'll see here I have 3 at the top. The periwinkle one, I have 3 at the bottom. And then this one here, I have the full cascading. Again, you could add a sentiment if you want. I just really like the simplicity of this card. And so I think that I would just do a sentiment on the inside. So one other thing that I want to show you really quickly is this is a card that I created using the same concept that was used here, except this one I purposely lined everything up and I pressed down on each one. For this card, I took a strip of that adhesive paper and literally just dropped the sequins on, pressed them down with my hand, and then I covered it with a piece of acetate and sealed it with the shimmer trim. So I really like that look. It is a very different look and it's not as prepared as the first one. So that is what I have for you today. Again, I will list the supplies in the comment section, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Have a sassy day.